Thank you. Next question. Yes, sir.
One of the legislature, I think, just passed a 25-55 rule that public service people or state employees can get out at 25 years of service over age 55, where the public sector or the private sector has to go to age 65. How are we going to fund that, and how would you argue against that? Also, I'd like to hear from both of you on this type of spending coming from the legislature.
Well, I think the idea behind that.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Jim. This Jim's up.
Okay.
No, you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. How many rules here? You got to talk, man.
You got it. You got it. I mean, that's a very good point, and you have to ask yourselves, how do we get to this point where we're forced to go for these early retirement incentives? I think these early retirement incentives, on a fundamental level, I don't like them. However, on a practical level, we need to get to a point where the state is saving money. And if those sorts of incentives work and will save the state money, I think it's something that we need to look at. But we need to do, at the same time, is we need to look at the costs for the state workforce. Now, I was opposed to the furloughing of state workers, and not surprisingly, there was another ill-fated idea from Governor Patterson that crashed and burned like many of his other ideas. What we need to do is we need to reduce the state workforce, and we need to adopt more private sector principles in negotiating with the state workforce. I work in the private sector. I work at Pioneer Bank. It's a great company. They really take care of their employees, and I'm proud to work there. It's not the same as working in the private sector, in the public sector, where I used to work. We don't have guaranteed pensions. We're a private sector company. We have a 401k plan that the employee contributes to as well. Those are areas where, quite honestly, we need to adopt private sector ideas, and we need to look at the public sector the same way. I'm not in support of laying off state workers. I think we need to reduce the state workforce through attrition, through consolidation. But the key issue that we have right now is we're negotiating with the state workforce as a political voting bloc, I think, as opposed to looking to them as a workforce that's worth negotiating with. It's a problem when you have a leader of government negotiating with the leaders of the unions, and what's going on there as far as what deals are being made to hopefully secure votes. And I think that's a lot of what's gotten us into the situation that we're in. And to be perfectly frank, the public employee unions need to be partners with state government. We have a budget deficit of $14 billion. I think, talking about leadership, we need real leaders to stand up. We need to put all the cards on the table, and we need to be partners here. You have industries such as the auto industry where unions, I think, have worked successfully with management, and the state employee unions need to do the same.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I would rather see people take early retirement, such as the package, I think that's the Plan B package, that they're offering certain employees in certain agencies. I would rather see the early retirement incentive over having employees furloughed or people losing their jobs. But what I would really like to see is when we renegotiate our contracts with the union, we've made agreements with the union. That's the deal. The deal's the deal. The governor and then wrote a memo of the governor wrote a memo of understanding that in which he agreed that he wouldn't lay anyone off until the end of 2010, and he's got to live by that. I mean, that's the deal that he negotiated in order to try to reform the Tier 1 through Tier 5 pension system, which really wasn't enough. But I think that when you have a negotiated contract or two sides come to an agreement, you have to abide by it. What I really would like to see, though, with respect to the unions, and I served on a labor management committee when I was at the Racing and Wagering Board, and I've negotiated with unions regarding their collective bargaining agreements. I think that when we negotiate our union contracts, we need to get rid or reform or amend the Triborough Amendment so that contracts are not extended automatically when negotiations go beyond the deadline, because the playing field isn't level and there's no motivation for the unions to come to an agreeable, reasonable negotiation. So the taxpayers are not on a level playing field with that Triborough Amendment. And I think going forward, we have to try to amend things like the Triborough Amendment so that taxpayers and employees alike are all going to have a level playing field at the negotiation table. Thank you.